Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really short but honestly profoundly impactful piece of text. It outlines a fundamental shift in business dynamics. We're talking about becoming the architects of a modern enterprise relationship. So, if you're someone who really wants to understand the core mechanics of how successful organizations operate, how they evolve, and ultimately secure their future, you're in the right place. Let's break down this evolution step by step.
Let me ask you something right off the bat, and I want you to honestly reflect on your primary objective right now. Are you focused on survival or expansion? Usually we think of these as two totally different mindsets. Survival feels super defensive, right? You're reacting, you're protecting what you already have, just trying to weather the storm and keep the lights on. Expansion, on the other hand, well, that feels offensive. It's aggressive, it's forward-looking, and it's all about claiming new territory. But what if treating these as separate goals is actually a trap? Keep that tension in the back of your mind because reconciling those two forces is absolutely the key to unlocking the entire philosophy we're analyzing today.
Okay, so we're looking at a total paradigm shift here. Think of large sales as your traditional transactional model. It's an isolated event. You make the big sales, sign the contract, ring the bell, and then boom, you immediately move on to the next target. The text you're analyzing urges a complete transition away from that hit-and-run style, moving instead toward the deep relationship. Now, a deep relationship isn't just an event, it's an ongoing structural connection. It's literally the difference between occasionally visiting a house and actually digging into the dirt to pour the foundation together. The old way is momentary. The new way, it's enduring.
Section 1. Survival and Expansion Strategy.
Now, we aren't framing this shift as some minor tweak to your playbook. This is the core architectural pivot of modern business. In fact, here is the exact quote from the source. It is about survival, yet expansion as the new marketing strategy. Now, what's really interesting here is that the author explicitly defines this as a marketing strategy, not a sales tactic, not a customer retention initiative, a marketing strategy. That implies the very way you position yourself in the marketplace, the way you communicate your identity to the world, has to be rooted in this delicate, simultaneous balance of staying alive and growing. Let's dive a little deeper into why these two concepts are so inextricably linked. The text positions staying alive and growing as a unified objective. But why? Well, because in our hyper-competitive modern landscape, merely maintaining the status quo actually means you're actively shrinking. Just think about inflation, evolving client needs, or competitors aggressively gobbling up market share. If your strategy is just survival through traditional transactional large sales, your foundation is basically eroding right underneath you. You can't expand if you don't survive, but critically, you absolutely cannot survive unless you are expanding. Cultivating those deep relationships is presented as the singular mechanism that lets a business pull off both at the exact same time.
Section 2. Architecture of the relationship. So how do we actually construct this? We get the big picture strategy, but now let's shift into the microscopic elements. The source gives us a very specific structural blueprint that we literally have to learn: the enterprise relationship, the enterprise offering, quality, value creation, and serving the market. This is a deliberate curriculum. Think of these like the architectural phases of building a house. You really can't put the roof on until the framing is done, right? So we're going to build this compelling story piece by piece.
All right, step 1 is learning the enterprise relationship. This is the foundational concept that totally replaces that old transactional mentality. Notice the phrase strategic, ongoing, structural connection. To really wrap your head around this, imagine you provide logistics software to a major retailer. In a traditional large sale, you hand over the software license, collect your check, and wait around for renewal time. But in an enterprise relationship, your engineers are embedded deep inside their supply chain every single day. You are proactively customizing code to predict their specific bottlenecks before they even happen. Your business and your partner's business become physically and operationally intertwined. You literally become a structural, load-bearing pillar in their operation. If you disappear, their entire building sags. And honestly, that is what guarantees your survival.
So once you've got that structural connection down, we move to the next vital pillar, the enterprise offering. This is the strategic value proposition that you provide within the framework of that relationship. And it's super crucial to distinguish this from just a mere product. A product is what you exchange in a large sale. It's just a commodity. An enterprise offering, though, that's the totality of the value you bring to the table. We're talking the whole shebang: your proprietary data insights, your dedicated support teams, joint research initiatives, and even shared risk.
The offering is the entire ecosystem you build around your core competency to make sure you're evolving way past being a basic vendor and becoming a totally irreplaceable asset.
Equality in the relationship. Now, this is arguably the most radical departure from traditional business models that our source text talks about. In the old model, there's always this persistent, inherent power imbalance, right? Usually, the buyer holds the purse strings, so the seller is subordinate, constantly trying to win favor, making concessions, just groveling to the business. Or, flip it around, the seller holds a monopoly, and the buyer is completely trapped at their mercy. Well, the text explicitly calls for an end to all of that. It requires equality, a fundamental resetting of power dynamics based entirely on mutual respect and shared reliance.
Which leads us directly to a pretty crucial question. How does equality actually drive value? Well, when you establish a level footing, when both parties finally view each other as equal architects in this enterprise relationship, you entirely remove the friction. You literally stop wasting resources trying to negotiate against each other. You stop hiding information just to maintain leverage. Instead, you start collaborating openly. In this context, equality isn't just some nice ethical ideal, it is the strict mechanical requirement for the next architectural pillar to even function. Basically, when you stop fighting over who gets the biggest slice of the margins, you can finally focus on baking a much larger pie together.
Section 3. Serving the market. Okay, we've laid the groundwork. We created the structural connection, we defined the complex offering, and we established strict equality. Now the text moves to the value creation. And this brilliantly illustrates the bridge between the internal structure we just built and the outside world. There is a massive difference between creating value for a customer and creating value with a partner. Value creation here is like this frictionless spark that happens when two equal partners combine their enterprise offerings. Because the communication is so open and the integration is so deep, they innovate in ways neither company could literally ever pull off alone. The focus completely shifts from, hey, what can I sell you, to, wow, what completely new solution can we build together?
Let's look at the logical flow of everything we've covered so far. Step 1, you absolutely must learn the enterprise relationship, completely abandoning those transactional sales for deep integration. Step 2, you must establish equality, which completely removes friction and allows you to jointly create value. And Step 3, you must take that internal relationship and make it work externally to serve the market. You really cannot skip a single step here. You can't serve the market effectively if you haven't innovated to create value. You can't create value without that frictionless environment of equality. And you definitely can't establish equality if you're still stuck in a transactional, large sales mindset. It's a perfect sequential progression, like a row of dominoes.
And finally, we reach the true apex of the text, serving the market. The source explicitly states that participants learn all of these previous mechanics specifically to figure out how to make the enterprise relationship work to serve the market. This is it, the ultimate goal. When two deeply integrated equal partners take their combined value and deploy it outward, they become an unstoppable force in their industry. This is the definitive proof that the new marketing strategy, that delicate, unified balance of survival and expansion, has actually been achieved. You're no longer just pushing a product, your structural enterprise relationships are actively working in tandem to serve the much broader market.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought, really just to evaluate your own methods. Take a close look at your daily operations right now, your business pipeline, and your current partnerships. Ask yourself, is your strategy built for a large sale or a deep relationship? Because as our source material makes absolutely abundantly clear, only one of those paths provides the architecture for true survival and expansion. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you next time.